guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here. Today we're gonna have a look at this beauty right here. This is the 2023 GMC Canyon, but not just any Canyon, because this one right here is the top of the line when it comes to off-road trim, and that is the AT4X. Not just the AT4, but this one is the AT4X, and this in combination with, I think, the Chevy Colorado, they both look absolutely fantastic. And the thing about this is, look at it from this view right here. It looks almost lifted. Yes, we do have some extra articulation right now, right here, because of how we sit. But this is actually 3 inches higher ride height than the normal Canyon, and compare that to the AT4, which will only have a 2-inch lift. This one comes with a 3-inch lift from the factory, and I think it looks so good, specifically in this volcanic red color. So what we're gonna do in this video is, of course, you know the drill by now. We're gonna talk about the front end design, the side, the rear, the interior, and then we're gonna take this beauty for a drive. Let's pop the hood and see what's hiding under there, because it is a pretty interesting engine. I mean, it does have plenty of power, definitely enough power to get this truck wherever you need to go. One thing here though is that you do have a prop rod. In this price range, I'm not so sure what I think about that. And look at the positioning of it. It's right almost straight in the middle. So it's not easy to access the engine or the motor with this prop rod right here. But under here, you do have a 2.7 liter inline 4. It is turbocharged. You have 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, which is not bad at all from this engine. So torque is definitely there. Horsepower, 310 horsepower, I think is enough. 0 to 60 is about 6.8 seconds, and I don't think you need more than that for a mid-sized truck like this. Now, pricing for mid-sized trucks over the years, they maybe become a little bit ridiculous, because they keep going up and up and up and up. And this one, the AT4X, is about $58,000, but you do get a lot of technology for your money. So let's close this back down and let's have a look at this design. What I love about this front end compared to the Colorado, for example, is have a look at this design, the black piece. It looks like the Predator when it's angry and screaming at you, with these black pieces sticking out in the 4 corners. And then we have the big GMC logo right here in the middle with the front mounted camera. Obviously, in this price range, this is something that you need. I do like the styling and the finish of this piece, because this is just regular plastic, so you don't have to worry about scratching this. And everything here, as you can see, is completely open. However, look at the headlights. You would think that the headlights would sit underneath here, underneath the daytime run light. However, in this case, we do have bumper headlights on the 2023 GMC Canyon, and I think it looks great. I'm not normally a huge fan of bumper headlights, because it looks weird having the headlights sit that low, but in this case, having them sit right here in a lifted truck like this, it looks really cool. Then you can see you do have the little GMC logo right here. And I also like that we have the C shape connecting this to the bigger brothers and the bigger GMC vehicles when it comes to brand identity. Look at this chamfer here. So it creates this offset from where this goes down into this piece, lower section. Very interesting design from the design team of GMC. Talking about the hood here, what I do like when you're driving this truck is that these fenders, or these shapes surfacing here, it looks very cool when you're sitting in the driver's seat, because these kind of goes up into these sides and creates a very sporty feel when you're sitting in the driver's seat. Further down, you can see that we do have this carved out section here. Obviously, AT4X, you need to think about the approach angle. So what they did is just carved out this entire piece from the overall bumper to help the approach angle. And you have proper skid plates underneath right there with the red tow hooks. I do like this silver piece. It adds some contrast coloring to this design. The fog lights sits integrated right here in this gloss black plastic piece, looking super nice. Overall, the front end design, I do think GMC did a great job with this, because you can clearly see that this is a GMC, specifically when you have the C-shape daytime run lights on in the front end, creating this DNA and hammering that in the GMC. Let's go on this side, because I think you have more sunshine on this side of the truck to talk about this side view. One thing here, when you look at these proportions of this truck, this is one of these trucks that if you were to sketch up a truck, it's very easy to just sketch this up because you have 3-box design. You have one box right here in the front, second box being the greenhouse, and then you have the third box being the bed frame. So I think the proportions of this truck is just spot on when it comes to a mid-sized truck. And then of course you have the wheels. These are 17-inch wheels with 33-inch tires, looking great. This, I would not want to have this truck in any other bigger tire size than what we have here. 17-inch wheels with the 33-inch tires look absolutely fantastic on this truck. However, one detail that I would like to have here in these wheels are the beadlock capable wheels, because I feel like when you look at outline of the wheels, you have the spokes here being silver and kind of cutting into this rim, the outer portion. I want to have some silver connecting these pieces, the spokes themselves, with an outer circle. And in addition to the beadlock design, I think that would just look fantastic. And I do believe that that is an option for the Canyon AT4X. One line right here that I love on the Canyon is, have a look at this line right here. How this sharp shoulder line goes into the front fender and fades in this area, creating this wide muscle over the wheel arches and the axles. And then you have this gloss black plastic with the indicator or the reflector light right here with the GMC stamped into it. This then comes back. If we follow this line into the rear, it's a little bit dirty as you can see, but then it fades in the same area here. And have a look at the muscle and surfacing of this design. It's one of the best looking mid-sized trucks out on the market right now, and you have the same type of reflector light here in the rear. And further down, we do have this line also carving out some of this volume and mass that we have on the Canyon, making it look a little more nimble, a little bit more athletic. And I also like that we have this upswing here in the greenhouse, goes up here in the rear end, creating this more of a sporty looking design with this chamfer going right behind it. Further down, we have, this is a skid plate, and they are massive. Just have a look at the design of this. And I like that they're stylized in a bit so they feel integrated in the rest of the design. They feel like a part of the design, not just something that's been added onto it. Now, as we talked about before, this is one of these trucks that I love how it comes from factory. I don't think I would do anything to the overall stance of this truck because I think it sits absolutely perfectly with the 3-inch lift compared to the normal Canyon. You have 2-inch on the AT4, the AT4X get an extra inch. Moving around to the back end, this is maybe where I think it could have been a little bit more interesting than what we have here. It's still a good looking truck, but with these taillights, it feels like this could have been a truck from still 2015. I want to have LED indicators, for example. This is just a normal light bulb. When the truck costs $58,000, I really want to have some LEDs all in the back taillights instead of having these light bulbs that we have right here. But overall, the design of this looks nice. We have a chamfer to kind of house the overall lamp in the taillight, and we also have this piece sticking out, bulging out of the tailgate, creating this big nice housing for the massive GMC logo in the rear. You have the rear mounted camera right there. Further down, you do have a proper looking bumper, and you can see the departure angle is pretty good as well. You have a single exhaust going on the passenger side, and you do have a full spare underneath the rear end as well. So let's fold this down because I want to show you something cool here. You have these latches, you just unlock it like this, and then you have some storage built in to the tailgate itself, and this is why it bulges out in the outer part here to create this storage space in the middle, which I think is a very cool idea. The bed itself, you do see that we have the spray-in bed liner here with some connections, 12-volt house outlet on the right side and some hooks on the left and all around with the AT4 stamped into the front of it. So let's close this back up. And overall, the thing is with this one and the Chevy Colorado, I'm not so sure which one I would personally buy because I think they both look absolutely fantastic. Overall, the design though, I think they nailed it. They just look finally like a 2023 model. So with that said, we talked about the exterior. Let's have a look at what's going on in the super high-tech interior. Let's jump in here and let's see what you get for close to 60 grand in this mid-size truck. So first of all, let's give you an overview of this interior. Let's turn these lights off. And the thing is, to turn the lights off, you actually need to go into the software to click up here, click on auto. I'm not sure why it's still ringing on me, but we're just gonna have to live with that, I guess. I think they look great. They look a little 90s to me, and you do have almost like a sport jacket design with the white. I've heard a lot of people saying that they don't like the white, and I kinda get it. It's gonna get dirty. You also have some white here as well for your needs, and in there as well. So let's jump in here and close the door. So hopefully it stops ringing at us. There we go, peace and quiet finally. So let's fire this up. You do have the start button right there in all of that white leather. And what I love about this interior is, I think you know what it is by now, is first of all, we do have a proper gauge cluster, thankfully. I'm really happy to see that in a 2023 model year. You have this housing for it, and you have some styling up top as well. And this is an 11-inch gauge cluster. You have an 11.3-inch infotainment screen right here. I think the integration overall, it's a lot better than what I've seen in a lot of new cars today, because this has a connection to the gauge cluster itself and goes down here into the dash. And have a look at all these physical buttons that we're gonna have a look at more in detail in just a second. Let me know what you think about this color scheme here with these white seats. As I said, I think it looks fantastic, but it's definitely, maybe if you take it off-road properly, it's definitely gonna get dirty and maybe hard to clean. Now, moving up top here, we do have the premium sound system. This is actually hard touch plastic, so solid plastic up top. We have some carbon fiber trim here with the AT4X, and then this white leather comes back at the bottom. I do like this design with this anodized style red, but this is also plastic, it's not metallic, but it does have some connection to the rest of the red that we have in this interior, to have it red like this. I also like the styling and the outline housing for the vents themselves. So let's jump into this settings here, the infotainment screen. You do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard, which is great. And if you want to go, the coolest thing I think here is all the cameras that you have. You have a bunch of different cameras. I'm not sure how many exactly, but you do have all the cameras you need to go off-road. You can see these are the front wheels, so you see exactly where the front wheels are. If you're worried about hitting something with your rear tires, you just have to switch them to the rear tires. Then you have this view, 360 view, in combination with whatever view you want to have here. You also have trail cameras, which I can't connect right now for some reason. And last but not least, you do have the hookup for the towing camera. So straight down, very easy to connect whatever trailer you need. So this system, I really like it. The only thing I don't like is that you have no stocks for the light settings themselves. You have to go into the software right here. This is where you change the light settings. So if you want to have the lights on, all you got to do is just hit this light button up here and configure it from the software. Another cool detail is that you do have air down mode. So if you want to air down the tires, you're thinking about doing some serious off-roading, all you got to do is just go in here and air down the tires from inside here. However, you do need to fill them up yourself. Would be cool to have a built-in compressor or something like that did it both ways, but that's not the case in this vehicle. Let's go in and check the off-road button or settings. So here you can see the angles, steering angle, and if you are in 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, you have all those settings down here. Right now you can see we are in 4-wheel high. And you also have a G meter here, which is pretty interesting, because I don't think when you go off-road you're going to experience a lot of G's, but I do like this graphic that we have right here. This looks so cool to have the pitch and roll angle with the 3D model of the GMC Canyon right there. You do have the tire pressure, and then if you want to go into overlanding, you can now see that we are at 7,790 feet. So if it sounds like I'm a little bit out of breath, that's because we are on top, literally on top of a mountain right now, but I'm pretty used to it by now. And then of course you do have your regular map settings. If you click on maps, you can have Google Maps integrated in this Canyon, which I think is a good idea because everybody's used to it, everybody knows what it is. And in addition to that, you do have a bunch of different settings here, as you can see. Now moving further down, I do love this interior for the simple reason that, first of all, as we talked about, we do have the proper gauge cluster right here. Secondly, we do have an array of buttons for the climate control settings. In this car, you do have heated and cooled seats in 3 different levels right there, and you also have the fan speed, very easy to adjust where you want the air to come out from, and of course these dials for the temperature itself. Super easy to figure out how to work this thing. And again, I'm very appreciative of GMC for putting in, still keeping the physical buttons like we have in this case. Further down, we do have 2 massive vents in the middle, in addition to the side vents that we have on the sides. And all the way down here, we have more physical buttons. For example, the rear and front locker, you have the auto shut off, on and off, auto stop for the engine hazards, lane keep assist, aux button, and the window button over to the right side. Down here, you do have a USB-C and a USB with the big wireless charging. I do like the camo pattern that we have, and I have a very thick case, so I usually have problems charging my phones when I have this thick case on, but I haven't had that issue with this charger. As soon as I put my phone here, it's going to start to charge immediately. In the middle here, we do have this drive mode. So here, these are your drive modes. If we can go back to that, you have normal, you have Baja, you have terrain, tow haul, off-road, normal, back to normal again. I'm not sure what the difference is between terrain and off-road. Let's see if we can see what this actually does. Terrain mode, here you have the full explanation for it. For tackling steep hills and crawling over extreme obstacles, automatically applies the brakes for enhanced climbing control, which is great. So let's see what they say about off-road and what the difference is between those two. So let's go in here and check the info. For surfaces that require extra traction, such as grass, mud, gravel, and deep snow, provides a wheel slip needed for gaining traction on loose surfaces. And then you have this pretty normal gear selector, and you have the gear shifter here. So if you're going downhill, you want to gear down and not use the brakes too much, just hit this minus button on the side of the gear shifter. And if we put it in reverse, you're going to see that we pop up the camera, the rear view camera, and the 360 on the infotainment screen. Putting back into park, we do have this nice red stitching, which I like. Again, I do like these padded areas, because normally this is just hard plastic. GMC thought about this. So look at where my knees are. My knees are right where this little indent in this leather is, and it's super comfortable, even though yes, they are white, probably gonna get dirty and stained after a while, but I don't really care about that, because it is so comfortable to sit and drive this specific truck, just thanks to these leather patches that we have on the sides. You have the parking brake right in the middle, 2 cup holders in the center, and you also have a nice sturdy armrest that is pretty soft. It's like semi-firm. If you open this up, you do have this little compartment which you can take out, and you have a pretty large storage compartment in the center with a cigarette outlet right there in the middle. Have a look at that. So let's put this back and close this up and move on to the seats. So we need to talk about the design of these seats. As I said, I like the styling that we have in the overall interior with the white red, a little bit of carbon fiber trim. It's not carbon fiber, but it looks like carbon fiber in some specific details. And you have these white and gray seats with the red stitching and the red graphics cutting through the 2 areas, and the AT4X embroidered into the seats. As I said, heated and ventilated seats. And even though they look maybe a little 90s, I still love the design of this, because it adds some interesting features into this interior. Now, moving on to the steering wheel and the gauge cluster. This steering wheel is totally fine. There's really nothing special about this. You do have this silver trim going around it, and it feels pretty normal. It doesn't really feel as modern as the rest of the interior of this steering wheel. It feels maybe a little dated compared to everything else that goes on in here. On the right side, you have the voice command and the heated steering wheel settings. You also have this button, which is really cool, because this means you can configure your gauge cluster to show you exactly what it is you want to show. This is sort of the trail settings, and here you have more like the off-road settings with the same 3D view that I just showed you in the infotainment screen. You can also see if you have your front and rear lockers activated and what type of drive mode you are in. I also like that we have a big compass right here on the left side. It looks classy, just feels nice to have something like this. I like to keep it in just normal settings, which is the more traditional look. Here you have more of a sporty settings, but this is the setting that I usually have, with the tachometer to the right side, and then you have the speedometer right here over to the left. Very nicely done by GMC. This is 11-inch. Normally you see a 12.3-inch being almost the standard these days when it comes to gauge clusters. I think 11-inch is sort of enough for this, specifically for this type of vehicle. You have one stock, and you have the wipers located here. So you have the settings for the wipers and the indicators, and you do have the high beams. Looking up top, we do have a standard size sunroof. Last but not least, do we have a glove box? Yes, and it is rather flimsy, but it is there, and it is rather big as well. So with that said, let's jump in to the rear seats, and that is where it gets tricky with the choice if you're going to go for a mid-size truck or a full-size truck. It all has, to me at least, comes down to the space in the back seat. And I can also show you the door and what that looks like. While we get out here, you have the memory settings, you have the window controls, the mirror controls, and you also have, look at this, they added some carbon fiber looking trim into the door. I do like this style. American cars, they really stepped up their designs when it comes to the interior. Remember the 90s when everything was, you have these big panel gaps, everything was hard plastic, specifically in American cars, but these days, just look at it. It's a beautiful looking interior, and even the door panel looks good these days. So, let's jump in here. You can see already that it looks pretty tight. The backrests are almost 90 degrees up. So let's see if I can actually, I haven't tried this before, so let's try this out, see if I can fit behind my own driving position. I do fit back here, and honestly, it's not a huge deal for me. I'm very easy to please when it comes to cars. Even though it is a little bit cramped, you can't really expect much more from a mid-size truck. And I am 6'1", so this is how I sit in here. I can sit in here for a good amount of time. I don't feel like I'm forcing myself back. I'm still resting on the backrest, so that's good. And I also have my knees on the side of the front seat. Further down, you do have these two vents. You also have two USBs, USB-C and USB. And further, all the way back here, I'm not sure if you can see it, you do have a house outlet, which is great if you want to plug in a vacuum, for example, and just clean the interior out. If you fold this center piece down, you're gonna find yourself that you do have two cup holders in the middle. This has got to be the smallest headrest I have ever seen in any car. We talked about the exterior design, we talked about the beautiful interior as well. Now it's time to take this truck for a drive and see what it's all about, if these added off-road bits actually matter when you're out on a trail. Alright guys, it's time to set off. I already got some dirt on me. Set off in the 2023 GMC Canyon AT4X. Now let's see what this is all about. See what we got. Let's close the camera first of all. We're in off-road mode right now, which seems suitable for this dirt road. It's not very off-roady, but it is a dirt road. It does have some dips and small little canyons going along the sides. We're gonna see how this feels. And overall, I'm really excited about this truck and the Colorado as well. They're siblings, as you know, and I do love the design of both. I think both are really good looking. It would be a super hard choice to pick one of them. But what I love about the AT4X though is that it comes with, I keep forgetting that I have a front-mounted camera, so I don't have to do this. I just have to look at the camera and see exactly where I'm going. But what I really love about this is the stance, and that it comes lifted 3 inches from factory, which is, as I said, an inch more than the normal AT4. So when you add the X on there, that means you get an extra inch of lift, and it looks great, and it's super helpful to have that on a road like this, where it is a little rough and a little wet as well, but that's always fun. Overall, I mean, on this road, it is extremely comfortable, and I wouldn't expect anything else. Since you're paying 60 grand for a mid-size truck, you don't expect anything less than it to be extremely comfortable, even on surfaces like this, and that is exactly what it is. So I'm gonna put it into terrain. Let's see what the difference is here. As I said, I can't really make out what the differences are. I feel like they both should be maybe one setting. Having too many settings is just confusing. Might think that this setting is a little softer. It dampens the ride a little bit more than when we have it in the off-road setting. Still a super comfortable ride, and I do love the turbo whistle that you get in this truck. Sounds almost like a diesel truck. It's a fantastic day to be out here in the middle of nowhere. I am right now in Bailey, Colorado. It's just a very nice spot, and it's not too crazy to get there. It's just a dirt road like this one right here, basically all the way to the campsite. So the inline 4 has 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. And I'm telling you, you do not need more power. Another thing I notice now is that it definitely brakes pretty hard when you're letting off the gas when you are in terrain mode, which is nice if you're going downhill or if you're doing some crawling over rocks and stuff like that. But when it comes to the power, you have this inline 4 turbocharged 2.7 liter, 310 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque, connected to an 8-speed automatic. I do like the automatics that GMCs are putting out right now. They're very smooth. This is no different. It feels like it suits this mid-size truck to have this specific 8-speed. And 0 to 60 in about 6.8 seconds. So the spec, in my opinion, looks great. The exterior design looks fantastic. And I'm probably one of the few people that actually like this white that we have in this interior. If you're one of those people as well, let me know and give me some support in the comments below. I want to hear your opinion. If you had to choose between this and the ZR2 Colorado in that beautiful blue color, which one would you pick? Both look great. This looks fantastic in this volcanic red. But if I had to pick one just based on the overall design, I do love the LEDs that we have up top on the Colorado. Even though the C shape here has a strong resemblance to, of course, the GMC brand overall. It is so smooth over these roads. It's incredible what they've done with the dampers, and I do believe, of course, that the 3-inch lift that we have also helps a lot with the comfort in here. And I drive a Ram Rebel as a daily, and you know, jumping into a mid-size truck like we have here, it is so much more nimble, and you know, specifically when you go on trails, it is so much easier to just position this exactly where you want it, instead of having this full-size truck that you have in the Rebel, for example. Just try to not get scratches on that one when you're going on tight trails. It is a challenge, but I still absolutely love my Rebel. But if I was going for a mid-size truck, this would definitely be up there. So how can we sum up the 2023 GMC Canyon AT4X? As we talked about the exterior, interior, the driving experience. However, all of these great things come at a price. So this is, as I said, close to $60,000 for a mid-sized truck, which is a lot. But at the same time, you get a lot for your money as well. Let me know what you think about this truck down in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.